All right, good afternoon and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about NOFO, NOFO, which is a notice of funding opportunity through the U.S. government, and what it's going to mean for many of you that are homeless or utilizing programs under Continuum of Care, rapid rehousing, emergency housing, transitional housing, TH, COC, Continuum of Care, HMIS, Homeless Management Information System, and many more acronyms I'll toss out the window as we talk here today. This video will not be filled with a lot of humorous, I guess you'd say humorous commentary, but it will be filled with commentary. For those of you that will understand what I'm saying through the process here, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Now, they have issued a NOFO about 3 days ago. I'm late to the game for once in my life. 25, 26 years. So let's go over NOFO and just listen carefully what I'm telling you. If you have questions, this is a live video chat. And so help you better understand what's going to happen in approximately 4 to 6 weeks. First off, let me pull it on over. So the administration released on November 13th, fiscal year 2025, COC or Continuum of Care notice, which is a notice of funding opportunity or NOFO, making changes to federal government funds for homeless assistance programs. The new policy outlined in NOFO slashed the support for permanent supportive housing programs by more than half and putting roughly anywhere from 150 to 250,000 that rely on the supportable housing out on the streets. Okay, so there's your clear notice for NOFO that of all things happening, a vast portion of people that do have applied for and are now using Continuum of Care, or there are other programs like rapid rehousing and emergency housing voucher. There is a real big possibility that you will no longer receive those funds and have to look at other options. Now, in between all this, legalese, as I say it, legalese being, reading off what the government has to say about this. I'm going to talk about it from a perspective as a federal consultant, okay, where you understand this in English. So let's keep going here. So COC program is going to be the federal funding for homeless assistance with an annual budget of around $3.5 billion and serves around roughly 1 million or so people each year, including adults and those with disabilities, veterans, and families and children. Currently, approximately 87%. Now, keep a close eye on this. 87% COC funds, meaning Continuum of Care. 87% is going to be permanent housing. So they're going to be dropping that number to 30%. So let's do some deductive math here. 87 minus 30 puts at 53% reduction. So that means half of you that are receiving permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, and emergency housing vouchers on January 1st will get your notice that you are now homeless. They're not going to continue to pay for this. They've lowered the numbers. And so at 30% ratio, some people will likely survive this, and those survivors will likely be those of you that are aged as a senior, 62 and older, and those with qualified disabilities. And it does not necessarily guarantee those two categories. I'm just suggesting that would likely be what they consider most, and of course, the most egregious cases. So now that we have a clear concept of 87% reduced by 30, bringing it down to 53 is half the program funding, or 1.5 billion. Okay. And so you got 6 weeks to figure this out. The problem is we don't know necessarily who's going to figure it out, because we don't know which programs are going to cut who. So now would be a great time to start planning for a difficult start of 2026, because this is what's coming to play. So what are we going to do with all these people? Where are people going to go, and how's that going to work out? Another acronym, TH, Transitional Housing. Imagine a circumstance where you're not quite living in a homeless shelter, but you're living in transitional housing for up to 18 months. So in that case, it's kind of like sober living. You've got a house on a street. It's got 5 bedrooms. Each bedroom may have four mattresses or 4 beds in it. And then overall, the directive of permanent supportive housing will be treatment first, whether you're mentally ill or not, or whether you're a drug addict or not. You must receive treatment through up to 18 months in a halfway house or transitional housing. Now, of course, shelters do qualify as transitional, but many of them are not going to want to do this. So I would imagine that this will likely be through private programs and nonprofits that own properties and buildings where you may apply to go in. You'll be granted up to 18 months, a mattress on wheels or whatever it may be, and stuff as many as you can in each room. And when then your timeline's up, that's it. There's no reapplication to it. If you don't find self-sufficiency within that 18 months, then your next options will be move up to the shelter. So why am I explaining it in this manner? Well, because when 2026 hits in about 6 weeks, they're going to make these operable changes. This is already a sealed deal. So you've got to figure out your housing. And if you're going to move off into transitional, then you're going to need to store property and other things. I'm not quite sure we're set up to house so many people through transitional housing. It seems a bit difficult to do that under the circumstances. But I'm going to take a look over here at the comments. I knew this was not going to be a fun video, but it's the reality that we all must face in terms of using Continuum of Care programs and having a very big slash of program funding, and then of course mandating that a treatment first focus. Okay, so you cannot enter transitional housing. You can enter it as mentally ill and other issues, but respectfully, they're going to request that you leave if you don't meet the criteria. Okay. Peace y'all out. Keep the faith, y'all. Thank you for bringing that up. Sheila Davison, hello and good morning. My son's mother, number 2. Good morning. Christina Gannon, cats, claps, and popcorn. Good morning. A little bit of coffee there. I see emoji. Gwinnett Bell, hi Jay, I need your help. Well, for those that need help, let's do introductions. My name is Jay. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. And I do consulting work for clients that need housing or need to transition, go to shelters, receive a housing choice voucher, or get out the system. So with that being said, if you're having a difficult time navigating the system, or you need to ask questions, or you need to approach a different type of housing, now would be the time to consider that before the 6 weeks are up, or you have to transition to transitional housing, or TH. So, taking a look down here, back of the comments. Latoya, good morning, everybody. When that bell goes on to say, I was in low-income housing 5 years. My son moved me back to Las Vegas, New Mexico, and put me in a dump moldy hotel room. That's not good. Freedom, W9WM. Sir, thank you for what you do. I have HUD Bash. I'm 65 years old, retired Army veteran, single only income, Social Security. I live in 55 plus apartment, concerned about my voucher. So let's make some distinctions for this video when it comes to who's going to be affected by this, what you should be doing, and how best to prepare for this rather unbelievable circumstance. Number one, if you are 62 years and older, you don't need to watch the video. This doesn't apply to you just yet, okay? Number two, if you have a qualified disability and you receive a Social Security check, Social Security disability check, survivor benefits, or railroad benefits, this does not affect you. Stop watching the video, come back another day, okay? Beyond that, look, permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, emergency housing vouchers are what's in effect right now. Roughly half of all you that I'm talking to in regards to these 3 programs on the Continuum of Care are going to be affected. They're paying your rent now, they're going to stop paying it. And even if that's not the circumstance, or you do not believe that's the circumstance, I'm going to advise that you prepare for a different housing solution. You guys have got to graduate out of Continuum of Care programs, permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, and emergency housing vouchers. This stuff is going to be coming to an end. It's already been cut by 50%. This administration is not going to revisit this in the next 3 years and may further cut it. You need to graduate on to utilizing your local housing authority and getting into a different program that does not include Continuum of Care, where you're dealing with not an emergency housing voucher, where you're dealing with a housing choice voucher, or you're dealing with subsidies like Section 202, Section 811, BAWA, HOPWA. There are roughly 128 programs out there. You've got to graduate out of this, because when the last domino falls with this, you're going to be stuck in a program that could likely get you evicted. And there's nothing worse than already having the problem of being homeless, but also been evicted is going to make it a very difficult situation. Okay. So if you don't know how to navigate the system, it's simple. You've only got a couple of options out here to help you. Okay. The free options are you call 211 or 311, depending on where you live in the country. And some operator is going to get on a computer and give you a bunch of numbers to call. Okay. That's the extent of that help. The secondary extent is you can call HUD, and if they answer with few employees they have left, then they can give you some more phone numbers. You call nonprofits and so on, and they can give you a run around for a couple of months. You call the housing authority, which ultimately is who you need to be dealing with anyways. But because the government shut down, much of it's still trying to open up, and a lot of housing authorities are in the business of qualifying people for what they have. They're not educators, they're not teachers, and generally they try to dodge as much as they can, just doing casework, because that's really not what they're designed for. Outside of that, you have private consultants like myself that deals with this. 25 years, 22,000 clients. We're a private solution, though I'm not free. I'm a better solution than getting a runaround and living on the street, okay? But I'm not suggesting anybody here hire me or my office to do anything for you. I am a last presentable option when you've exhausted all possibilities, or you simply do not know how to help yourself, or if you are an adult and you've got a family member that has problematic issues and you don't think they're going to survive transitional housing, then that would be most appropriate. Okay. So the transition here will be, we're not going to be offering, the U.S. government is no longer in the business, the homeless business at all. That's quite clear what they've indicated. And the first volley of this is by reducing funding and then kicking roughly half of all the people that are in permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, in the HVs off the vouchers and into transitional housing. Transitional housing will offer an opportunity to live in communal living in a house or a building with multiple people per room, and you have up to 18 months to stabilize, fix your life, and then get out. Okay. This does not include rehousing, and rehousing is when you weren't successful the first 18 months. Well, you're not going to come back and do it a second time. This isn't designed for a second try. The focus of the entirety of transitional housing is they're going to be treatment focused. The administration believes that everybody's mentally ill and a drug addict. Therefore, the edict will be that when you are kicked out or asked to leave, or there's a lack of funding for permanent supportive housing or rapid rehousing or emergency housing vouchers, they will focus on your drug use, alcohol use, and your mental health. And that is it, outside of offering stationary housing on a limited basis. That is the new reality for 2026. I don't need to sit here and preach, prove, or otherwise prove anything. You can go find this for yourself in the news. Okay, that is the new reality. So what are your other options out there? For those who can afford it, if you're smart, you'll hire a consultant. It ain't, like I said, it don't get by me, but it's going to be the fastest way out of this and into real housing. You need to transition out of COC programs. They're too unstable, they're well underfunded, and many of them are just simply not going to carry on paying for what you have. You need to get into housing choice vouchers. If you're 18 to 61, then maybe Section 811 will be ideal for you. If you are 62 years and older, then maybe using NEDs or non-elderly vouchers as well, or Section 202. And so we have all these other programs out there. If you're a veteran, then maybe we could approach HUD-BASH, since HUD-BASH doesn't really coexist inside of the Continuum of Care programming. It exists outside of it, then HUD-BASH will still be available. And I can go on for days. There's 128 programs, all have criterias, but this is the new adjustment that needs to be made. You cannot afford to lay on your mattress, okay, to the last minute and wait for the sheriff to come for you. Okay, I'm going to explain something that a lot of you don't get. Ignoring the problem, being depressed, ignoring the problem to the last day and then getting evicted is only going to make this surmountably harder for even a person or company like mine to get you out of it. Okay, it only takes a few minutes for the cop to come put you out. It could take me a half a year to unwind, getting you off the street. Do not sit there and act like there's no problem and then wait for the sheriff, the constable, or the police to come and remove you, because you're going to make this problem immensely harder. Once you lose your property, your home, and your ability to even be able to do a job, then it's going to take quite a while to unroll all that. So don't do that, okay? If you don't know how to navigate, you need to find somebody. Again, I'm not here to sell anybody anything, but that is the reality. So as a few further introductions, and I'll make these introductions again. My name is Jay. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. And today I'm going to put up a few links for you guys so you can establish the core of what I do outside of what this video is actually about. So I'm going to put the website, link for the website, link for reviews, links for appointments. That way you can look into a little bit of the background and pedigree of the company. And I think we have about 400 or 500 reviews. If it's an option out for you and you're not able to solve the problem yourself, then it's like I've always said, when my car breaks, I don't think to myself, well, I'm going to run to the library, get a mechanic's guide, and I'm going to pull the transmission of my car. You'd be wise to find somebody that knows what's going on, okay? Because even I have to ask people for help. So moving on from there, looking back at this, there's going to be additional cuts inside of Section 8, as many of you quaintly call it, but it's not Section 8. It's the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So we got to, most of you are going to need to start working on getting this voucher. Hanging your hat on one solution is a terrible idea as well. So say you've accepted the possibility that you can lose rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, or your emergency housing voucher. Look, you running to one housing authority in your town and your zip code and calling it a day waiting on a waiting list isn't going to fix a damn thing. You've got to deploy multiple methods and multiple programs, okay? You've got to deploy every option that's on the market and hope that one or two come through for you. I mean, that's the best play in the book. You don't go and go, well, I'm going to try this one thing and then I'm going to wait 6 months. If that don't work out, try another. Look, even in my company, we do casework for clients. I'm oftentimes having to deploy almost every type of program there is out there. If clients don't qualify, then we have to look at their case carefully and see whether or not we can figure out a way to make them qualify. Make no mistake, the system was never designed for prayer circles or fairness. Okay, let's just be honest. Everybody's adults here. This stuff is not designed to be fair. It is not logical. It is not designed to benefit you when you actually need it. So you're playing a bit of a rigged game. If you're going to participate in a rigged game, in a rigged lotto where you have no chance of winning, then the only concept that should be in your mind is you need to play to win. Okay? Look, these politicians design rules and policies that turn this over, and let's talk about how this is designed. So you have somebody make a decision at the White House. They vote on it through Congress, right? And then they have people from Ivy League schools that don't have any idea what it must mean to be a low income or otherwise, design the programs. They turn that stuff over to companies like, and take this note down, NAN, N-A-N, and McKay. And they underwrite those policies for these programs on a limited basis of their Ivy School training, and then they roll this stuff out on approval and signature of whatever president and Congress is available. After we have that draft, then the mandate's very clear. And as you've learned, there are two separate systems in play. There are three. So if we had to look at the system as a whole for housing, system number one, the housing authority, it's project-based housing and it's voucher, right? Two solutions, one housing authority. Then another system that many of you are learning for the first time. Well, Jay, what is Continuum of Care? Well, that's when we take and throw more federal funds at a different program that does not go through the housing authority. And we call that Continuum of Care. And Continuum of Care runs through a system and programming called CES, Coordinated Entry System, better known as Housing First. So now we have this new program that issues vouchers, that's federally funded, but it's not the housing authority. And for a long time, it issued vouchers, emergency, rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing. So all these solutions to get people off the street. So many of you didn't even know. You thought the only place on the planet that could house you was the housing authority. Well, you're wrong. So that's volley number two. And so you go through coordinated entry, CES, and Continuum of Care program, and then they evaluate you with a test called SPDAT, SPDAT, the Service Prioritization Decision Tool. Am I getting good now? Do I look like I'm reading off a teleprompter? Must know what I'm talking about. Let's keep going. Now that we're working through the acronyms, we're going to go from SPDAT, and you take that test, and then you put it into the computer, HMIS, the Homeless Management Information System algorithm. Now, that robot's going to determine whether or not you're worthy, okay? Whether or not Jesus is going to touch you and put you in housing. Well, we learned a long time ago through our company, if you understood the policies and rules of SPDAT, the Service Prioritization Decision Tool, that if you could beat the policies, then you could actually get into housing. So we will look at the exploitation legally of SPDAT, and then we would provide clients with the exact testing with both the questions and the answers. So now you rigged it. You rigged the game in favor of the client. Well, over time they learned. They learned that companies like me could figure out how to beat their tests, and we turn over the complete operational guides and testing to the client. And so we tell the client you have two options. You can look at the test and pretend you don't see the actual answers on it. So you could act morally, or you could go and sit on the sidewalk and live there. You leave people with a choice. Did that one time. Let me give you the example I'm giving the last video. I had a Christian couple call me, and I suggested SPDAT and give them the testing manuals that the workers are supposed to have, but you're not supposed to have, right? And so they told me, well, we're Christian. We don't sin like that. I said, okay. And I hung up. I said, I'll hear from them about a month. And about a month later, guess what? They called. And guess what the first words out of their mouth were? Anybody want to guess in this channel? Jesus forgives. I bet he does when your ass is burning up on the sidewalk. He forgives. So without implicating themselves and without the implication of sin, they made it very clear they were ready. They were ready to be on the fence. Okay? I'm going to warn you. Anytime you deal with the system, whether it's a housing authority, which we call a PHA, public housing authority, or you deal with Continuum of Care, you're playing a rigged game. And if you don't have somebody like me in your corner that knows how to unrig the game for you, and again, we talk about shame and morals and ethics. How should one have moral and ethic when the very testing and procedure to get into it is rigged? Okay, so by virtue, you're forced into sin, right? If you're a Christian. So you see my point. I'm the unrigger, and I'm really good. Okay, I'm good enough to do 22,000. I bet many doubt my abilities, and I smoked a lot of companies over this shit. You know, a lot of companies would take pride when they have accolades and awards, and they'd hang them on their wall. You know what I call an award? How I hang my awards? When I get a cease and desist letter from an attorney's office or law firm, please cease and desist, giving out our fucking manual and all the answers, right? And so I hang those on the wall. You know what those are? They're honorary degrees. It means I'm so good, I can defeat the system. Okay? That's how you know you're good at your job. And I've hung a lot of them. Okay? And so while that's my only great bragging right, coming close to retirement now, is the fact that I earned my honorary degrees of cease and desist because it means I'm good enough to be a threat and that I am getting people housing when, in fact, the system would prefer you grind and live in the forest. So moving on from there, it's not just a culminating factor of just having manuals, guys. You've got to be able to read sometimes hundreds of thousands of pages of policy, procedure, SOP, be able to do FOIAs on housing authorities to be able to get their policy procedures there, administrative plans. There's a lot. In order to beat a defeated game, you must first have the set of rules that the favored size has. Then you got to find the loopholes and you got to run your clients through it, okay? And then you got to convince your clients to not be ashamed, because if you're going to check into a hotel in hell, how do I convince my clients they're not serving the devil? Well, they're not, because it was never designed to be fair to start with. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Does anybody feel me right now when I'm telling you? Or you can do what the caseworker at the housing authority would like you to do. And that would be wait till your underwears evaporate and blow off your ass, okay? Wait for the nonprofit and the caseworker, the prostitute they just hired to moonlight as a caseworker at Our Lady of save the loaf of bread. And they're going to give you 8 minutes of casework, 1 page, and the dingbat that's going to help you hasn't any worldly idea about giving you anything. They're going to prioritize people on the basis of the human level, the human experiment. Well, she came in, she looked like trash. I'm going to let her take this test, but we've already selected who we wanted to give the voucher to. You see, it's prejudicial by behavior. So not only are you competing in a rigged system, but the very people that are in charge of it can be prejudicial among many things and exclude you for a number of factors simply because they don't like you. They don't like your attitude. They can even change the very answers you give on the testing and still fail you. Or they can decide well before you ever came in to be administrated that they've already determined who favorably they're going to give it to. Because you got to remember, the people at the Housing Authority and Continuum of Care program, they have people that clean their toilets. They got people that mow their lawns. It would be much more into fortune for them to have a Christmas party and hand out vouchers to the maid and the lawn mowing man than it would be for your ass. Don't ever forget. Okay? Just you think the government oversees all these billions they pour into these organizations? Did we not talk about California having all this funding? They spent $24 billion. Do you know almost 80 to 90% of all that funding never even touched a homeless person? Why is it you give all your Gucci slippers, your jewelry, and everything else to the nonprofit, the shelter, and then why is the homeless still wearing clothes with a shit stain on it? Because they sold it all. This is for profit. They even have the nerve to hang a cross and pictures of Jesus. Jesus ain't in the building, okay? I can promise you that. So I don't need to preach to the choir here. If you think this is all good, moral, and ethical, go out there and sample what's going to happen to your ass when January 1st gets here and you think some dingbat on an 800 line from 211 and 311 is going to fix your ass, you're going to find yourself, okay, with a stale donut from a week ago. They're going to issue you one flip-flop on Monday and another on Tuesday and a bed ticket. And then they're going to whisper sweet little things in your ear and you'll never fucking hear from these people again. Okay, it's easy to cash that government check. It's not so easy to actually give anybody anything because the very way the government designed funding is for the nonprofits to go out and do head counts. The more homeless they can prove are out there, the more money they give them. There's no interest in housing anybody. So the only way to play a rigged game is to literally first have their set of rules, their game book, and then play it from there. And for that, you're going to need an asshole like me. Because I don't do traditional casework. I play to win. If that means bringing COCs and dragging their ass before several different federal investigations, or even taking the housing authority to court hundreds of times, getting law firms involved and forcing their hand. Oh, well, we made a big mistake. We're going to help you and your client. However, just know we're going to continue to act like the devil. We're just going to allow this exception here, because we know that we're not prepared. We don't want to do a settlement. So we'll give you a client, make y'all go away. So y'all stop. Stop having us investigated. Quit turning all the staff against each other. Quit subpoenaing everybody to court. You see how that works? Or option number two, window number two, you can call 211, 311. You can talk to the little girl that just got off from Popeye's Chicken, working there. She's at the fry daddy in there, okay? She's frying that chicken up. Now she's your caseworker. She'll see you and 900 people that day, okay? All she's got is a 1982 laptop sitting there. She'll open 1 hour a day. You come in, you breathe all your problems, your medical crisis. She sits there and she's playing fucking Farm Bill, okay? At the end of the year, when the big mega shelter holds its graduation, you probably watch 6 white folks roll to the front, and they'll be the only fucking people out of 10,000 to get a voucher. So there's your game. Do you want to play it with them? I'd take you down to nonprofit too. You ever seen that game? In the back, they got leather sofas. They got everything. Marble floors. We got a Greek god made of solid Italian marble in the back. Everybody's wearing jewels in there. But in the front, to help the homeless, we got showers to help you get a shower that ain't been cleaned since 72. We got a black and white TV, right? We got people drunk, high, and turning tricks in the lobby. It's just like the bank. There's a glass window. The government money is behind the glass window, which you will get. You'll get a dinner ticket to some shit that was not paid for by the government dollars. What you're going to get is something that somebody donated. They don't even want to spend any money. Okay? You are cattle to them. Now, people will go, well, I had a nice worker. Well, she was nice the first couple of days until she got reprimanded 28 times. Hey, honey, we're here as a nonprofit to both serve Jesus and the government. Now, look, honey, you can't give out but more than one voucher a year. You do that again and help another person here, we'll put you out. You're fired. You take their information, you put it in file 13, we'll let you know who's approved. You don't play caseworker here. We're not in the business of giving shit away. You better understand. That's how the real system works. For those that want to tempt fate, we can get a party bus out. We can ride around. I'll take you around, not a problem. See how far you get with that. You won't walk out with a breath mint. You might even get some attitude. And if you're super lucky, some of my most experienced former intellects went in and they walked out with a coupon book. And in there was 3 tickets for $1 cheeseburger at McDonald's. That was the value of your life. 3 cheeseburgers and a fucking coupon book. That's the game you're playing right now. So I advise you to listen carefully. On January 1st, they're going to cut out this funding. And when you start, look, when these people that own these nonprofits and shelters, when you start talking about cutting them dollars, if you think it's hard to get now, it's really going to be hard. 25 years of dealing with this. Ain't no way to spend this different. I expect fully to probably even have a few death threats at the end of the day. I get lots of housing authority and COC workers coming in here. Hey, man, quit talking, man. It ain't like that. We only treat them bad Monday through Friday. Okay? We do prayer circles on Saturday. Look, part of my job is hiring former directors, other housing personnel that used to work for the housing authority. And also, I've got lots of them that pretty much dropped the dime on COC. Many of them out there that run. It told me the whole story, turned over all the files. So I do know. You cannot come here and argue a lie with me. Okay? Can't even compete. So, our company, we're not going to take the basis, okay, well, how do we best and ethically and feel good deal with this? First thing we're going to do is standardize the process, force the housing authority under FOIA, in-house. So you basically, we're cutting a notice that is open public request, in-house counsel to get policy procedure manuals. That way you can weaponize a case. Second to that, you determine whether or not these people have actually been committing fraud. Sometimes you can win cases on the basis that their behavior violated federal law in that office. So you can literally turn the offices against yourself. Once you have Sally as the manager and Bob running as a caseworker, how many people have they violated? Now, or are they willing to take that risk to sit in the federal courtroom and open all their files? Do you think they were just violated you? You're the first? A lot of them don't want to take that risk. They don't want. You do a media packet on them, hit every newspaper, radio station, and TV station, 100 miles, you'll get compliance like you've never seen. It's like kicking a bitch in the ditch. And when it comes to responsibility and accepting liabilities, that always will flip on itself. And I can tell you the people higher up, they don't want to lose their job. So guess what? The one that's always got the attitude answer phone, oh, you got to whisper a little bit. We're going to have to get rid of Sally. She's going to be the one taking the bait today. We got caught, put Sally out the building. So lots of ways to play the game. Sometimes you play the game by turning the house on itself. Sometimes you turn them in and you put them in the court system because you know the legal budget published on their annual report says they only got about 20 grand left, sue them for 40. You break the camel's back. There are lots of ugly, shitty ways. So if you're going to deal with the devil, then you need somebody that knows how to play with the devil. Or you can go and hire a company that's not me. Deal with some dude talking to you in monotone, average white dude. He's going to help you right through it. He's going to tell you all those lovely things, and then you're going to end up holding your ass in your hand. Because at the end of the day, he's just clocking in and out. He's a specialized talker is what he is. He's not a specialized achiever. A big part of what casework is in dealing and transitioning clients is not just running your mouth. First, you're demonstrating that you're able to understand and acquire all the information that operates the system. So you know how to play by the same rules as the devil. Okay. Once you have that, then you can actually start to weaponize those policies and procedures against the very actor that's trying to keep you out. Okay. And when we reach non-compliance issues, we can bring it before both the feds and the court system. So, how much pressure when I take my flip flop and I put it on your fucking neck? How much pressure before you hear that soft snap? How much shit do you want from my office when my client gets what they need? How much pressure do I need to apply? Because remember, that's my job. It's not here to comfort people. It's for me to put my foot on your neck, and I'm going to apply so much pressure, you'll be either ready to quit your job, you're going to have a psychiatric moment, turn the office against itself, lose all your legal funding for the year, or get investigated by multiple federal agencies. So what would it be easier to do? Comply, bitch. Simple. That's what I do. Anybody want a question about what I do? Now we're clear. Are we crystal clear here today? Or would you prefer that I have a pizza party with them? We could trade pleasantries. I don't do that. The job has taught me from the beginning, you go for the neck. We don't have time for all the soft shit. I'm not going to send Christmas cards. We don't even do the open and belly won't be that. In order to deal with our clients, we need to be able to deploy all assets at the same time. And it starts with a threat. And basic is like a questionnaire. How far do you want this shit to go before it blows up on you? Because I've got nothing to lose. So now we have a fundamental understanding. They're cutting that funding. And in 6 weeks, half of you won't have what you used to have. You got an option. You can think you're the smartest person in the room, run out there and think you fix your own problems. Okay. And you'll find your ass on the sidewalk at the mercy of people that I just described. Then you're going to run around. Oh, well, wait a minute. Google says I can go here and there. And then you're going to run those nonprofits. Okay. They don't keep them light bulbs on running 24 hours a day and their pockets lined, because behind every nonprofit is a Beamer and a Mercedes. The reason they got money is because you don't have housing. Do you understand? They're going to cut you out of a system based on their rules that you don't have. You don't even have a copy, do you? So you went in there thinking this is all supposed to work honestly. You was going to go down to Paul's voucher shop, and Paul was going to be friendly and pray for you and give you what you need. No, not really. So I get these people all the time. They email me. They just think they think, oh, I'm gonna take my minivan. I'm gonna roll through the housing door and I'm gonna get me something. No, you're not. They're gonna slap you in the face, talk to you bad, and send you on the way. Now there are some caseworkers that care, but I don't care. I don't make that distinction. In my opinion, if you work in the building, you're complicit, right? So you can do it my way, or you can do it everybody else's way. That's how I survived all these years. Why I had a profound career of absolutely terrorizing housing authorities and Continuum of Care, just terrorizing, driving law firms batshit crazy because they couldn't figure out a way to shut me the fuck up. They couldn't get me to stop. So I end my career very proudly with that. And to show for it, all I have is a wall of coffee-stained cease and desist, which they can roll up, light up, and stick it up their own ass, because I could care less about that. That's my accolades. I'm never going to win an award. They're not going to invite me to Harvard for this, for housing 20,000 people. I'll go quietly in the night with this. Okay, me and my cats. But today is the day that you get to understand, because my mouth, the things that I can say as you reach retirement get better, because I don't have to put a governor on my mouth. It means I can say a lot more than I've ever been able to say, because I'm not at risk of anything anymore. So I got some advice for you guys that are using permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, emergency housing vouchers. You need to transition. You need to start now. You don't wait till you've opened Christmas gifts. You don't wait till you have turkey in your mouth for Thanksgiving. You need to start now, because this will be fully rolled out, and it will be a tidal wave by October 1st next year. Then you're going to be pairing it with a new, it's like revisiting the restaurant. This is a 9-course meal. They're not done. October 1st, 2026, They're now not only going to take this transition, you get a transition, but now they're going to put in most likely time limits and work requirements. So while you're on the sidewalk, okay, with one flip flop, you're trying to transition from one place to another. All your shit's been stole. You got nothing left. Your cat ain't had a shower in a week, right? And I mean a literal cat. Let's not be dirty, but you see my point here. They're going to add new things. So the homeless person is also going to you're going to have to recover from drugs. You're going to have to recover from crack smoking and transition place, though you've never even smoked crack. You're going to be given 18 months. This is another time bomb, right? And the minute you sass anybody in that transitional shelter, the minute you fart the wrong flavor in the room, your ass is out. You violated their private rules. You guys are going to need an attorney just to be able to remain the whole visit, because nonprofits get paid on the day. And when the dollars run out, after that, they'll be looking for any reason. Oh, well, she didn't mop. We saw her mop 99% of the floor. She didn't get that corner, put her ass out. Because why? She's on the hit list now. The dollars ran out. So the transitional housing is a trap. It's a trap run by nuts. And yeah, they'll talk nice to you to get you in the county jail. That's what they're running there. But the minute you don't do what they do, comply and be indentured to work around there, swing mops and handle the plumbing and the gardening and every other fucking thing they need, then they'll put you out. You don't think I haven't dealt with transitional housing with clients? There are some good ones. There are some good ones that's fair and reasonable, but it's mostly by virtue for those that are veterans. It's a free-for-all in the other ones. So we're trading in vouchers and stable housing to move people into rehabs. Locked behind the door and a nonprofit that wants to profit indenture. And the minute you have no value and the government can't pay that extra dollar to keep you an extra day, then they got to find a reason to put you out. Okay? You roll through that door and slam a little too hard, you're out of there. You guys don't understand the cold reality. Some of you do. Some of you have been out there. So I'm going to go into comments. I'm sure there'll be a lot of things to say. And I welcome anybody who wants to go toe-to-toe, COC, CES, ESC, or even a housing authority. I've been doing this long enough that I'll destroy you. We talk federal code, policy, procedure, administrative plans. We can talk expedite, HMIs, all of it. I can verbatim. I don't have to take a breath. I don't even look at the wall. I got no notes. That's how well I know it. So we're going to be looking at the policies and rules as they roll out next year. And I can guarantee you one thing. I'm not going to have any interest in actually reading how they're going to carry this out. My only interest is where they fucked up and where I can slide my clients through. Okay? So let's move on down. If anybody here has a problem with my profanities or realism, please dislike the video, unsubscribe, and get the fuck out. Simple as that. Okay? You don't have to be here. You go to the Sally and Bob's Fidget Spinner channel. I believe today they've decided they're going to be a master chief consultant, president, and former expert of housing, and they can give you some tips and tricks to run your life, okay? If you want to deal with real consulting, be here. But that means you have to put on your big boy panties and listen to what I'm telling you, or you're going to get your ass wrecked, okay? The people out there, when you get these sheets, phone numbers that nobody ever seems to answer, okay? They're going to dangle over a couple $100 to help you with rent, and then they're going to tell you to beat your feet on the sidewalk. It's not a housing solution. Some of you guys don't understand the cold reality. But you'll wake up, you'll get it. You'll be like that Christian couple that called me the first month and then come back and tell me, well, Jesus forgives. I bet he does, because you're about to sin. There ain't no other way to play the game. You want to play a rigged game, you play to win. Otherwise, you're a fool. And if you're a fool, don't contact me or my office. I don't have time for airheads and idiots. Okay? I've got time for people that are trying to get on with their business. We're all humans. We're not rabbits. We're not dogs. We're not cats. You cannot live on the porch. Well, you could try for a while. All right, let me scroll back. Can't believe y'all sit here and we got to deal with that. So, all right. So I scrolled down a little too hard there. All right, now let's see if I can scroll back without messing this up. I keep doing the Zoom one here. I don't know why my computer keeps doing that. All right, let's see if we can get It's still doing it. Well, bear with me just a minute, guys. For some reason, my computer is wanting to. All right, so here we go. So going back, we've got. Gosh, there's a lot of comments. Gwen Bell, I was in low-income housing 5 years. My son moved me back to Las Vegas, so we talked about that one. Christina Gannon, please recap on disability, elderly, seniors, veterans. We're going to do a recap real quick to discuss who's going to be potentially excluded, okay? Bell, please just pray for me. Well, that's just for you, huh? GRY, are your monthly payments up front? I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. Ranking Jay and the Cats, Karen knows, kitty emojis. What are the questions? You guys are doing all these emojis here. All right, Butterfly. I have been through the transitional housing before I got where I am now. I went through rehab, and now they're trying to put us back in the same damn cycle. Yeah. Yep. There'll be a lot of money. Look, guys, if you graduate and you get out of this circumstance, go and open the nonprofit. We can go into business together. We'll run rehab. We'll run rehabs. What we'll do is we'll go down to the Walmart, buy some blow up mattresses. We'll stick as many drug addicts as we can get into the crack house, and then we'll contact the government for a grant. We'll get $20 million. We'll do like every other nonprofit. We'll get to $20 million, and then we'll tell all the crackheads, hey, man, look, we got it dead bolted up front. We're going to need you to do laundry, floors, everything. I'm going to be in the back. I need you to wash my chandeliers, the cars. We're running a car wash. We indenture everybody. And then when we hit the 18 months, then we say, hey, man, I saw you. They'll look like a crap pipe in your pocket. So we're putting you out today. But really, in the board meeting we're going to have early in the morning, we're just going to find crazy reasons to get rid of people. So that's how transitional works. You don't actually really think these people give a shit about you, do you? Okay, I've seen them. I've walked through them. I know many that have been through them. Less than 5% of them, in my opinion, actually even serve the people. It services one pocket. If it has a board, then it services their pocket. Transitional housing will fix nothing. Besides that, they're going to want you to go. They're going to have church at 10 a.m. They're going to have AA at 11 a.m. Then you're going to have to work for your food at lunch. So they'll give you some bread and butter. After that, we'll need 5 hours of cleaning and sweeping. Then there'll be the car wash for all the board members. Then after that will be church and AA mid-afternoon. Then we'll have a late day work session. We'll go out and run a lawn company as well. Pre-labor, get back. We'll do church 6 more times, 5 more AA meetings, and then around 12 at night, we'll do an NA. And then after everybody's beat down, tore up, we'll bolt everybody in the rooms. We got to keep our government check going. This is the shit you guys are going to face. Good example of that is look at some of these sober living houses. At least they try over there, but I'm unconvinced that anybody's getting sober. So moving on from down there. Muskogee Land, I need a B, and C plan. Look, the plan should be A through Z, okay? Have a backup of a backup plans, okay? Things are changing so rapidly. I had a client of mine recently, and they complained. They said, Jay, you told me it was going to be this, and then you changed your mind a week later. I said, look, honey, I didn't change my mind about shit. I've been operating a long time. I said, the administration and Congress change things about every week or two. That ain't me. They say they're going to do something, then they do something different. They're going to fund it, then they defund it. That's not inactivity or inintelligence on my part. That's just how politics work these days. You know, the government shut down, they made last minute changes again. That isn't me. It doesn't mean that I'm inaccurate. I'm listening to what they said in February, that was changed March, then again in April, then in May, and then it keeps evolving. So no, we can't really even depend on the videos I make unless they're less than 2 weeks old, because they keep changing it. And by the time we reach the 1st of January, it could change again. Do I think that this part's going to change? No, it's going to happen. But they could add more requirements on this. It could affect more people than we thought. So, starting on the 1st, there'll be about 3 different waves of people. The first which will be the easy ones, where they simply give up and walk out of housing and just accept their fate. The second wave will be the ones that say, well, you know what? Go to hell. I'm going to stay here anyways until you evict me. The third and final wave will be the ones that lawyer up, manage to pony up some cash, get in the court, and battle out to about summer. So we'll see 3 waves of roughly 1 million people put back on the street, because I can tell you there are not enough transitional housing in the U.S. to even come close to taking on this crowd, not to mention cutting all the funding out of this deal. So moving an 87% funding, jacking it down to 30%, at 53%, it's going to be a real party. Look, you're going to be at the gas station. They're going to hit you for change when you pull in the driveway. They're going to hit you at the gas pump. They're going to hit you at the front door. You're going to be in the bathroom, and somebody's going to reach under the stall while you're taking a shit, and they're going to shake the change cup again. Okay. We're going to have people spinning around the red lights all day long because they're simply trying to get money for housing. It's going to be like MMA at every red light. They're going to have 30 people out there with a change cup. All right. There's nowhere, we don't have the infrastructure in place for transitional to take on millions of people on a moment's notice. And look, do you think the news cares? They're not even talking about it. This is what you're facing right now. The news isn't even talking about this. So they'll put it on you when it serves a purpose of the news. They'll put it across national news. You know what? There's only 3 people talking about this: Politico, NPR, and me. They prefer it to be a big surprise on January 1st. It doesn't have to be one. Prepare now. Well, guys, I know this video is going all over the map. We've talked in serious terms. We've talked in consulting terms. We saw the devil and came back from that. We had a little bit of humor with a sprinkle of profanities. That's how it goes. My days are tough. I don't pull any punches with this stuff. We got to level. We all have to level with what's going to happen. You have 2 options going forward. You could either mitigate some of your risk by preparing, even though you don't know whether or not you're going to be affected by this, or you can put your head in the sand and then watch your whole life go up in flames with this. At least 3 parties have tried to warn: Politico, news outlet, NPR, and myself. Now, the other big agencies, they'll pick up last minute when they can make money off of this, okay? Because they don't actually care whether you're housed. So I'm going to scroll down. It's too late now to cover all these old comments. I'm just going to address the ones that are at the bottom, okay? I probably should have carried on so long. And there are a lot of comments. Ranking by Jane. Just peachy, gonna shake the change out of my sock, reaching under the bathroom stall. There you go. Let's see. Yeah, take the most of your back income. I wasn't getting paid. Sorry to hear that. One thing I also want to mention before I go, I'm doing a last minute introductions, talk about the cost in terms of what's going to happen there and who might be excluded. So if you're 62 years and older, you may have a chance where this may not affect you. If you are a person that is disabled, you have verifiable disability, there is a chance that you may survive this. Okay. We don't have the absolute rules just yet. Second to that, I'm going to put up some information regarding my company for those that are interested. Okay. I'm just having a terrible time with this mouse. I'm ready to throw it out the window. It keeps acting up. Yeah, so there's some kind of problem with my mouse. I guess the battery died after being in there for 20 years. So anyways, my name is Jay. I'm the owner of section8consulting.com. You can find our information both in the chat and also in the description, and as well as the comment section when the video ends. If you've exhausted all your possibilities or you're uncertain you can navigate the system, you can reach out to us. Since I'm at the precipice of my retirement, I have cut casework services in half, as well as the amount of time. So it's a lot more affordable than it's ever been. It's probably the cheapest it's ever been as well. That's because we're dealing with fundamentally a new system going in 2026. I don't think that trying to get housing in that market is going to be quite as profound. but it's going to set up some new challenges for us. Okay, so at the very least, it's worth keeping that information in case your efforts fail. Okay, but again, you don't have to pay anybody to do anything. You can always give the good old 211 and 311 a call. You can talk to Jim Bob over at the shelter. He's been a caseworker for 38 minutes. He can help you. You call the housing authority. I hear they're doing prayer circles and handing out free pizza, and they want to help as well. Or you can call HUD, but they've only got about 6 employees left after they fired 90%, and see whether or not they'd be willing to not hang up on you after 5 minutes. There aren't many options. And then, of course, you can get the old flyer, the cheat sheet, the Homeless Guide to America. They always list lots of nonprofits. The problem is their phones haven't worked since 1983. So I don't know how they love cashing a check, but rarely do they answer the phone. It's kind of like looking for a rare bird. You have to get your binoculars out. You'll see that rare bird. You'll see it quickly. It'll fly from the Mercedes-Benz into a secret back door in the building. They never undo the blinds, anything. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it's like spotting a rare bird. You might see somebody working in the building when they're not in Fiji or having vacations. So, drop by that local homeless shelter or assessment center. They got operators standing by. I can't tell you the joy that's going to bring your heart. When you're tired of bullshitting, hey, my number's all over the internet. I've made over 1,000 videos. Channel's 15 years old. I've been in the industry 25, going on 26, upper retirement. You make your choice. You ain't got many love. But, there are other consultants on the market you can talk with. Their rates are usually around $5,000. Them guys in the suits, man. They're going to want you to pay the mortgage to their mansion. So anyways, with that, I've enjoyed talking with you. We're going to be back on later today. I'm going to talk about a little bit more about how we're going to approach 2026. This whole system of housing, Section 8, Continuum of Care, homeless funding, and all vouchers is changing rapidly, the whole landscape. And this will continue to evolve, not only this year, but over the next 3 years. And a lot of what you're not going to know anymore. There are just so many rapid changes being approved. And so the system, a couple of years ago, I mentioned to many of you that by 2030, we will watch a changing of the guard here. And so that's what's happened. And the system that we all know is rapidly changing into something most people don't understand anymore. Even I am trying to keep pace with the new mandates and changes in rules in Congress and funding level. It seems like it's changing every week. I have to check the news every morning. And no other president in the U.S. history has made this many changes so rapidly. And so everything changes, and we're trying to keep track. So later today, we'll talk again about 2026. This time, it will not address homelessness, but I put out a lot about that for those that have homeless, or if you're or you were homeless, because I'm trying to warn you before it happens. Okay. I've enjoyed talking with you guys, and hopefully you have a good day. We'll see you around 3 or 4 today. All right. Bye-bye. Goodness. Long one.